Give it to me straight, Doc. How bad is it? I'm not going to lie to you, son. You have one of the worst cases of SLIS I've ever seen. SLIS, what's that? Stupidly locked in syndrome. Are you preparing for something, some type of big moment? Well, yeah, I'm preparing for the NBA playoffs. That explains it. We've seen this before, actually, believe it or not. So does that explain the balding then? Oh, no, that has nothing to do with the baldness, actually. I'm not quite sure where that came from. Oh. Are you taking some type of steroid or something that could be? Yeah, I'm taking steroids that only Joe Rogan and I have access to. Well, there you go. That explains that. That explains that. What about these very vivid dreams I'm having of the Dallas Mavericks winning the NBA championship? Is that? Yes. Yeah, that is SLIS. That is SLIS right there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are again. Mavericks, Clippers in the postseason. A tale as old as 2020. I guess. The third time these two teams have met in the postseason. Since then, you probably don't need me to tell you about the history between these two, or that Luka in his career against the Clippers in the playoffs, 33 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 9.5 assists per game, or that Kawhi Leonard in the 2021 series didn't miss a single shot in the fourth quarter of Clippers wins. Not a single one. 100, 100, 100 shooting splits in the fourth quarter of those games. But these two teams couldn't be more different than when they met a few years ago, even though Kawhi is still there and Luka's still there. That's pretty much it. I mean, look at the box score of this Game 7 from 2021. Boban got 31 minutes, guys. Boban played 31 minutes in a Game 7. How did that team even take that series to 7? These two teams are even different than when they met earlier this season. The last time they played was November 20th, weeks after the James Harden trade and months before the Mavericks would completely overhaul their roster at the trade deadline. So there's not a lot to go off of based off of past matchups between these two. But both of these teams are incredibly similar. Both had 30 to 40 game stretches where they looked like one of the best teams in the entire league. The Clippers from November 17th through February 5th went 31-8 with the best offense in the league, the best transition offense in the league, the best half-court offense in the league, the best three-point shooting in the league, and the 10th best defense. The Mavericks from February 4th to April 11th went 24-7 with the 4th best offense in the league and the 6th best defense. Now, of course, you might know that the Clippers one happened earlier in the season during the months where you probably don't want to peak, and the Mavericks hot stretch happened towards the end of the season when you really do want to peak. And over that same 31-game stretch for the Mavericks, the Clippers went 19-14 with the 15th best offense and the 25th best defense. These teams are also similar in the sense that they ISO more than anybody in the league. The Clippers isolate more than anyone in the league. The Mavericks, the second most. The Mavericks are the most efficient isolation team. The Clippers, the second most efficient isolation team. Both teams have dominant starting fives. For the Clippers, James Harden, Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac with a plus 11.6 net rating. And the Mavericks, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Derek Jones Jr., PJ Washington, and Daniel Gafford, a plus 15.9 net rating. Both teams have superstars, plural, that can completely take over games when they're on one. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this series, shall we? I am incredibly interested as to what the Clippers are going to do with Ivica Zubac. Now, we know in years past and in playoff series past, Luka Doncic has quite literally played him off the floor. And since the Clippers switch everything on defense, Luka just takes it upon himself to pick apart Ivica Zubac every single time these two teams play. The problem this year for the Clippers is, opposed to years past, they can't really afford to go that small in this series, or at least you wouldn't think so, looking at some of the numbers. Back in 2021, it was okay for the Clippers to go small because, one, the Mavericks didn't really have any size, and two, the Clippers had a great small ball lineup with Nicholas Batum and Marcus Morris manning the small ball 5 and 4. They don't have those guys anymore. So if Zubac, who is a big reason why the Clippers had the run that they did, and is somebody who suffered a calf strain in January and just has not looked the same since, if he gets played off the floor, where do the Clippers turn? Their best small ball lineup is when Kawhi Leonard plays the 5, where they have a plus 15.2 net rating and a 132 offensive rating, just through the roof. The problem is Kawhi Leonard healthy? I mean, we don't know. That's an evergreen statement, but it's especially true now. And if Kawhi Leonard either A, has to miss time, or is B, limited with a knee injury, I just cannot imagine that they turn to him playing the 5 for extended periods, because that is a lot of strain to put on somebody dealing with a knee injury playing small ball 5 against a team that will probably hunt and test out that knee. The PJ Tucker minutes have been an absolute fiasco this season. The Clippers are 10 points per 100 possessions better when he's off the floor versus when he's on. Daniel Tice, their rebounding numbers completely and totally tank. And that's really where the problem is for the Clippers, is this is not a small Dallas Mavericks team anymore. If Zubac gets played off the floor and you can't keep him out there and you go small, the Mavericks have bigs that can punish you with their size. This is already a bad rebounding Clippers team. Those numbers are way worse when Zubac is off the court. So despite what we've seen in years past, I do not think Zubac is going to get played off the court. I think that they're going to have to rely on him, and he's going to have a good series for the Clippers. If I'm the Mavericks, I'm also worried about Russell Westbrook off the bench, who's been a spark plug for them this year. Norman Powell, who offensively is just an incredible piece to have off the bench. In fact, the Clippers' best lineup, James Harden, Norman Powell, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac, a plus 23 net rating with a 103 defensive rating. In that group without Zubac, a plus 26 net rating. So the Clippers have a lot of shot making to throw at the Dallas Mavericks, but the Dallas Mavericks defense, I think, will most certainly be up to the task. They've been 6th in defense since they made all of their trades. Over that stretch, they've also been the 3rd best second half defense. Now that might sound like a stupid ass stat, but the reason why I bring it up is because that's usually when teams tighten up in the second half of games, and especially in the fourth quarter. And we've seen since the Mavericks made the trades that they're a defense that is more than capable of digging deep and getting stops when needed. As a whole, they've been the 3rd best fourth quarter team in the league since the trades, and the best offense in the fourth quarter with a 123.4 offensive rating. The Mavericks have shot making too, thanks to in large part to their superstar backcourt, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, quite possibly the clutchest duo in the league. No, I would venture to say the clutchest duo in the league. By winning percentage, this is the most clutch team in the league. Kyrie Irving's stats in the clutch, just mind-numbing. The Mavericks were 16-4 in the clutch when Kyrie Irving played. He had a plus 31 net rating in those minutes, with a 76% true shooting percentage, with a 30% usage rate. I mean, that efficiency in the clutch is just insanity. And one of the big strengths for the Mavericks now is that they're not a one-dimensional Luka Doncic create everything and the role guys are shooting threes. They're not that team anymore. They're multi-dimensional offensively now. And the Mavs role guys hitting threes is one of the big swing factors in this series, most certainly, but they've proven since the trades that they don't necessarily need that. In fact, they are 12-2 since the trades in games where they shot below league average from three. 12-2. Like, that's just insane. Now, the strategy shouldn't be, let's just go brick every single fucking three. Get out there, Tim Hardaway Jr. That was unnecessary. I apologize to Tim Hardaway Jr. It's going to be very important for Tim Hardaway Jr. to knock down his shots when he's out there. PJ Washington to hit his corner threes, which he's been heating up from three as of late. Derrick Jones Jr. to knock down his threes. Dante Exum to knock down his threes when he's called upon. Josh Green, Maxi Kleba. These guys need to knock down their shots. But the Mavericks have discovered ways to beat you even if their shot's not falling, which is not how this team has operated really at any point in the Luka Doncic era. And one of the reasons for that is the Mavericks' newfound tendency to run out in transition, something that they've never done in the Luka Doncic era. The Mavericks finished the season tied for 10th in transition offense. This franchise hasn't finished top 10 in transition offense in 12 years. This is important because the Clippers defensively are terrible in transition. They have been a terrible transition defense all season long, even during their hot stretch. The Clippers are the 3rd worst transition defense in the league, including the 3rd worst off of live ball rebounds. Why does that matter? Because the Mavericks were the 3rd best offense in the league off of live ball rebounds. What does that mean? Luka Doncic grab a rebound. Luka Doncic hit a head pass to Daniel Gafford. Luka Doncic grab a rebound. Luka Doncic hit a head pass to Josh Green or Derrick Jones Jr., whoever's running the floor. Kyrie Irving, outlet, pull up three in transition. Attack your defense before it's set. So with all things considered, how the Clippers looked during their hot stretch and whether or not they can flip that switch and get to that point again where they are one of the best teams in the NBA with their absurd shot making and the Terminator, Kawhi Leonard, assuming that he's healthy. And the Mavericks, a completely new look team who has the best player in the world, one of the best co-stars in the world, and a defense that's been performing at an NBA contender level for the better part of like 3 months now. Where do I lean? It's tough to say, especially with Kawhi Leonard's injury, but I'm operating under the assumption that he's going to be healthy and he's going to be out there, and considering the shot making and all the things the Clippers can throw at the Mavericks offensively, I'm going Clippers in 7. It might not be the answer you want to hear, but it's the answer you're getting. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you can follow along during the postseason. It's going to be a hell of a ride on this channel. Make sure you guys join. Bye-bye. You thought this shit was serious, huh? You really are a jokester. Mavs in 5. They're more athletic. They're younger. They're bigger. They're taller. They have the best player in the world. They have the best co-star in the world. They're the most clutch team in the NBA. Their shot making is on par with pretty much any other team in the league when it has to be. Their defense has ramped it up. They're one of the better transition offenses in the league. I'm going Mavs in 5. That's my actual prediction. When the series, when we figured out that this was the series, that's what my brain went to immediately, and I tried to talk myself out of it. I watched hours and hours and hours of Clippers film to prepare for this, and I tried in that process to say this is not going to be a 5-game series. It's going to be 6 or 7. Get to that point. Figure out a way to get to that point. And now, especially with Kawhi Leonard's health seriously in jeopardy, this is where I'm at. The Mavericks should win this series. And I think it'll be a disappointment, all things considered, if they do not. I'm going Mavericks in 5. That's not to say the Clippers have zero chance. Obviously, they do. If Kawhi plays, we've seen what he does in the playoffs. He's one of the greatest playoff performers the league has ever seen. We know what Paul George and James Harden are capable of. We know what Norman Powell's capable of off the bench. We know how Russ can swing a game. We saw it last year in the playoffs. In Game 1 against the Phoenix Suns, Russell Westbrook was huge for the Clippers. I just think the Mavericks have more currently, especially with Kawhi Leonard's injury status up in the air. So there we go. Mavs in 5, baby. Lock it in or get locked out.